Recent versions of Adobe InDesign have had this really cool feature called Gridify that's kind of amorphous. It's not really a tool. It's not a menu command. It's just something you can do. Let me show you how useful it could be. Here's the polygon tool, and I'm going to double click to make sure I have my settings for a star. Yes. Let's say that I want to make 50 stars. So I start dragging out one. As you're dragging out any shape in InDesign CS6 and 5.5, you can tap the up arrow or the right arrow to duplicate that item that you're dragging out. So if you're dragging out a frame or a line or whatever, or stars I'm doing here, as I tap the up arrow, I duplicate more vertically. As I tap the right arrow, more horizontally. So if I want to make 50, I'll do 5 rows and 10 columns. So I'm dragging and I'm tapping. That's 5, one more. There we go, 50 stars. Nice and easy. Now, what governs the amount of space in between these objects? People ask me that all the time. It's actually exactly 1 pica in between. And the reason it's 1 pica is because InDesign pulls this measure. If you go to margins and columns and look under gutter, it's pulling that measure. So if you wanted more space in between your stars, let's change this to 3 picas. And now we'll try again and start dragging out a star and then tap up and right, up and right, up and right. It's always going to maintain 3 picas of space in between. If you're a big fan of Gridify, you could change the default amount of space in between objects as you're gridifying them by changing that column gutter width with no documents open. Now this Gridify is also in effect when you're dragging out multiple images. Here I've queued up Mini Bridge, and I have a bunch of images. Let's say that I grabbed a bunch of them and then drag them out here, and it's drawing the little previews. Let me close this up. As I drag out one image, normally it's going to place the first image, and then it'll have the second one in my cursor ready for me to place. But just like with the stars, as I'm dragging, I can start tapping the up arrow and the right arrow. Now, I'm not duplicating this image, and unfortunately, we can't see a preview of what it's going to do. But what it's doing is creating image frames, multiple image frames, to hold all of my pictures that are in that cursor. Remember, I dragged across maybe 6 pictures. So when you're doing a multiple file place or drag, Gridify will also work. The point is keep your finger down on the mouse button, tap the up arrow to increase the number of rows and the right arrow to increase the number of columns. You don't have to match exactly what you had in your cursor. I know I had 6. I have many more frames here, but when I release the mouse, it'll just use the ones that it wants. But do you notice that it's using the 3 picas in between? It's pulling, again, from that measure here in margins and columns, the gutter measure. You can adjust that. Let me get rid of that, and we'll grab some more. And then drag them out here. That's nice. As you're dragging, and you tap the up and down arrow keys a few times, now you can press the Command key on the Mac or the Control key on a PC, and the down arrow reduces the amount of space in between the rows. Command up arrow increases it. Command or Control left arrow decreases the amount of space in between columns, and Command or Control right arrow increases it. So you can adjust this on the fly if you like. Let's make it really close, like that. Cool Gridify tricks. One more trick I want to show you. First, let's start with a star. Again, here's my polygon tool. Let me double check. Yep, still a star. Drag out a star, and I'm going to fill that with a swatch. Let's make it a blue swatch. There you go. Now I'm going to Option or Alt drag on this shape, just like you can do with any object. If you Option or Alt drag, you make a duplicate, and you can start tapping the up and down arrow. But watch what happens. I'm releasing my hand from the Option or Alt key. It already knows I want to peel off a copy, but I'm going to tap the right arrow key as I'm dragging. Look what it's doing. It's going to make a duplicate of what I'm dragging. It's going to step and repeat it, in other words. There you go. Now they're separated. So the column gutter amount really makes no difference here when you're doing this super secret step and repeat move. because the amount of space in between each object is going to change as you drag close or far. So close, these things are going to overlap. But if I drag far, then you'll see each one as a separate shape. And I'm going to tap the right arrow a few more times. There's more. The left arrow to reduce the number. There. That's the super secret step and repeat using Gridify.